Six pack lap of that. We are doing a preview show. We got Natalie Richards, Big Body, Rory is back. Um, so we got a panel of people, and difference on this one, this preview show, it's not going to be like the standard division by division breakdowns, predictions, etc. We're going to focus on specific battles because there's some specific battles that everybody's all hyped up and keyed in for. So we're going to lean into these specific battles and discuss them. We will briefly go over the weight classes on our way to the specific battles, but we're not going to break them down. This is going to be a battle driven discussion as opposed to the other preview shows where we literally go division like we do for Worlds or something like that, or Euros, division, etc. So, having said that, just touching base on the 59s before we get into the 66s, which will be our first big battle. The 59s, everyone coming in with nominated below 600. So, Wasker is going to be going to the World Championships unless a miracle happens. Travis looks like he's got the biggest total here. And then Brennigan Coleman, you do a little bit of research on him, and most of his totals are actually come from when he was a 66, and the other gentlemen are below 500 kilos. So, Wasker, there isn't going to be any battles if we're battle driven on this preview show, as well as we're going to give our takes on who we think is going to be making it the Team USA, and Wasker's going to have that one locked up. But moving into the 66s, now we got our first battles on our hand, don't we? And this was where things get just a little bit interesting. Big Body knows a thing or two about the 66s in the US. You've been a part of these skirmishes, but we have returning national champion, multiple time world's medalist, Jonathan Garcia is back, as well as a gentleman, another Garcia, Morgan Aquino, who a bit of a big game hunter. In the past, he's won big before with a 715 total. On the flip side, it's been a few years since he hit 715, and he's actually not gone over 700 kilos since 2023. And I haven't seen a whole lot of posting coming out of him. He's capable. I just don't know where he's at. So we put a pin in this. And I don't know what your thoughts are on this. I'll swing this around the room as well. Obviously, Austin and Big Body, you could tell us about him. And then we also have Avery Jackson that you were telling us about. So what Big Body, what's your impression of the 66s?
I'll start off with the new contender, if you will, that is coming in from the USPA. We were saying right before, uh, I think that he's someone to be aware of. He's hit some really big numbers. Natalie has seen some of his work and said that he had a lot left in the tank. I know I'll leave that up for her to further comment on, but I just think that he's someone to not overlook. So he could come in and do something big. Jonathan Garcia, his training has been looking good from what I've seen. He's posted, I believe, a 270 squat, more in the tank, 190 bench, more in the tank. And then his deadlift has been that biggest issue. And he actually pulled a nice 260. I believe that he's got a ceiling that's quite high. Um, and we don't know much about Avery Jackson, so we'll see what he comes in and does. Morgan, I've been seeing what he's been providing through his stories. His training has looked like
Ah,
it's been consistent, and he's been able to string together sessions, weeks, and blocks. I know he hasn't showed anything big, but it seems like he's happy with where he's at. And then as far as Austin, he 692.5 at Junior Worlds. If we don't go for the Sheffield shot, we could have PR'd by about 2.5. We take a 300 kg deadlift, it'd be a 705 total. He has to cut roughly around 9 to 10 pounds. If you go up to open powerlifting, you'll see that he's been a 66 since the age of like 16 or 15. So he's gained a lot of weight over this time as he grows into a developing young man. Um, and that's pretty much all I'll say about him. But I believe that Jonathan's looking great. Avery can come in and do something, and Morgan seems he's cruising with his training. So I think we'll have a decent podium battle for sure.
Jonathan is also a flex athlete as well.
Correct.
Do you know much about Natalie? You said you had seen Avery Jackson before.
Yeah. Like originally, like I didn't recognize him because he came over from, I believe, like USPA. So like I hadn't seen him previously before he competed in a meet in South Carolina, and he hit a 682 total very, very easily. I think his all-time best is a 700 total. So like I wouldn't, take him out of that like kind of top battle. I think it's going to be close between probably Jonathan Garcia, and then honestly, Avery, I think he has a lot more left in the tank because like that meet that he hit 682 at was back in January, and now we're headed into April. So there's been a good bit of time for him to build. So I think it's going to be a tighter battle than probably people think for probably top, three in the 66s.
Here's another thing about Jonathan Garcia. You guys noticed he's moving differently lately.
Yeah.
When he came into Sheffield, he was talking
Yeah.
all types of shit. When
He's
he
talking
came on,
smack.
he's talking smack. He came on King of Lifts, and one of the things that jumped out, because all of the 66 is obviously tied on total at Worlds, and he was like, I don't know. I mean, call me crazy, but that's not how I want to win a world title, is tying somebody and winning on body weight. And he goes, when I go to Sheffield, I just want to look at this guy and ask this motherfucker, do you feel like a champion? And I'm like, holy shit. He referred to Penna as an influencer. And
Why is there so much shade right now? Jesus.
The thing is, maybe a little pep in the step, training, like a
motivator.
Here's one thing. He got semi passed up for Sheffield. Penna got the first slotted as an alternate, a rank higher, and went in. And he also got alternate spot, didn't get in. Now he showed up. He got to go to Sheffield, be at the meet and greet and experience it all. So it wasn't like totally shafted or anything. However, he's just recognizing, and on the podcast as well, saying, look, I got passed up. And what I think he's doing is a little more coming on a podcast. He'll fire shots, get people talk about him. Be like, look, if I'm getting passed up, what do you guys want to see here? You want to see good lifting? I got it. You want accolades? I got it. Do I got to get a little spicy? Do I got to get people talking? Do I got to take shots at your favorite lifter so you say, hey, do you hear what that guy said? He's trying to make some moves so that people care. So when opportunities pop up, he doesn't get passed up. I think that's what's happening. And God bless. I mean, I'm not in his shoes. I don't know how I would feel if I've been in the game for years and I think I got to make some moves here before my opportunity slips. He's in his mid-30s. He's a father. I don't know how many more years he's got. He'll have a few. It's a strength game, but he's trying to maximize. I think either way, he's spicy. He was talking to Shell about like fighting him in a boxing match.
I know. I kind of love that
shit.
though.
And he was like,
that was like, great.
He was like, and Shell was like, let's do this.
I love Shell's response.
Ryan, can I touch on that super quick? Just very quick. I know Roy's got to go. I actually watched. I'm up at like 3 a.m. last night, and I'm listening to you do your KOTL midnight talks. I thought it was great. You were talking about the greatest comeback story. I won't spoil it, so people don't have to go check that one out. But I thought it was great, and I guess like the newer age, the young guns today, Gen Z. They're not going to fully get it. I think we got to explain it sometimes, but they also got to live it and see it. But I think what Jonathan Garcia is doing, like at first I get like people be like, oh, it's cringe. Like, what are you talking about? But at the same time, I think with him being like a father, grown man, he's got his family, you're almost 40. At those ages, you don't really care what people are thinking. And you're more so in it for the sport and the battle, right? And I think that he's directly talking to his opponents, not caring about what others think. And if you talk about like football, basketball, boxing, I mean, how many times in the historical battles in boxing or fighting, they're talking to each other and the crowd can't hear exactly what they're saying, but they're talking mess to each other, in American football battles and in international football, Americans call it soccer, baseball, basketball. Jordan was talking. Was people said that Jordan was one of the greatest, mess talkers, during the game. So the crowd's not going to know what they're saying. But all this is just to say, I think it's sport. I don't think it's something to be taken personal. I think it's great. I always wonder what powerlifting would be if we challenged each other more from a sports perspective. I think people hear just a little something and they just like take it so personally, and it doesn't have to go that way. We're competing, right? So you don't have to feel uncomfortable. It's more so to say, like, if he asks, Kasman-san or whoever, Pana, whoever, do you feel that you're a champion? I think a lot of people in this community, they think of things so practically and so surface level and straight up for what you're seeing it, but they don't also see the deeper meanings behind, the front face. So I guess what he's saying is, I get where he's coming from, because he's pretty much saying, like, you didn't actually out total me. You beat me on a technicality. Do you really feel like you're better than me? You know what I mean? And also, I get where he's coming from, because he feels the type of way about that day. But I don't take it in a cringy way, or like, I don't make too much of it. I get what he's doing, and I see the sport aspect of it.
I mean, agree. Like, look at it. As the sport gets bigger, we're going to get more and more used to this kind of thing. And again, when your job is to start generating views, you're going to Sheffield, you got to bring some heat. They want you to bring some heat. They're literally asking you questions. People ask questions to provoke some one-liners, to provoke some heat. You start delivering. And when opportunities come or don't come, you start realizing, I need to post more. I need to get on social media more. I ought to start helping out in terms of this. If we want to go on the professional side, it is what it is. Rory, what is your take on the 66s? The battles, Jonathan Garcia, is Jonathan the man to beat?
I think Jonathan probably the man to beat. To the earlier point, I really don't think that there's nothing wrong with smack talk in sport, right? Like, my background is like hockey and martial arts. I live for a little bit of smack talk. However, I don't really care what you say on a podcast or what you say you're going to total. I care what you can show us that you can do at the end of the day. Powerlifting is not like hockey. It's not like football. It's not like martial arts. Nobody's literally going to kick you in the head, right? Like, you have to, like, you go out there and you do your own thing without interference from anybody else. And so, like, I think Jonathan Garcia is probably the man to beat. He's the guy who's represented the United States. He's, 2 times world silver, world record breaker, all of these things. At the end of the day, he didn't win last year. He's been beaten before. And some of these men are coming in strong. Austin Nikolai hasn't posted anything crazy heavy. But he's posted a bunch of meaningful rep PRs. Like, I think I saw him post a 7, 5, and 3 squat rep PRs in the last few weeks. He did post a little bit of a small deadlift PR recently. I don't know what his body weight is looking like. Some of the 66ers do walk around a little bit heavy. So, like, yes, I think Jonathan Garcia is the man to beat. But his, like, really the top 3 or 4 of these men are floating between probably 700 and 712 and a half, maybe 715. And that 15 kilo range is the difference between 1 or 2 missed attempts at the end of the day. And so, like, being the strongest person on the day is actually not good enough. You need to be both the strongest person on the day, and you need to follow through with the attempts that you think that you're good for. So I got Jonathan at the top, but he does need to follow through still.
100%. Nat, as a competitor, how do you feel about the new Jonathan Garcia? And you were a teammate of his.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I think it's fun. I like the smack talk that gets people talking. Exactly. Yeah, I'm excited to see Jonathan compete. I think he's going to do well, as long as, like, I think it's going to come down to kind of what Rory said about attempt selection too, because you can't come out of the gate being like, oh, I gotta, show everything up and just like blow my opener out of the water. You just have to be smart with it. If you try to do these like massive jumps or do something dumb with attempt selection, that's literally where you're gonna lose the kilos on the day. But like, one attempt, if you do a dumb number just for an ego boost or something, versus what's like realistic, it's kind of what's gonna come down to first versus like 4th place.
Yeah, when it comes to Jonathan, he's got to bury that squat, and then he's got to hang on to that dead. And it's the same way every time. But if he could bury his 3rd squat, if he gets his 3rd squat in, could be some big trouble. And he's got to hang on to that dead. Kind of like a 66 version of Russell Orhii. huge squat, and if he can hang on to those deads, he's going to build that freaking total, and he could take it once again and end up at the World Championships once again. All right, so we're going to move into, obviously, if we're focusing on battles, 83s and 93s. But first, let's do a quick pit stop into the 74s. So Perk exists. He's not going to be at these Nats, but that man is going to be at the World Championships. So this will not be a battle for the spot in terms of the national team. However, Zachary de Costanzo, I pronounced that right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All righty. He looks to be the clear favorite. And he's strong. Look, he's coming in with a 760. I was checking out on his Instagram, doing some research I know we're focusing on battles, but I just wanted to see, not posting a whole heck of a lot. So I'm not entirely sure what he's going to be putting forth on this performance on that day. But judging by all of the nominations, or the nominations were at 0. We just pulled all of the different totals off of open powerlifting. He's by far and away favorite here. So it's his to lose. And look, even if you're not winning a national or title selection on the team, sorry, you still have a national title that you can win. So it's still a big accomplishment for him. And 760 as a 74 is it's good. It's actually world class.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the problem is one of the greatest powerlifters alive just happens to be in the same nation as you. So in any other nation, he'd be going to the World Championships himself. So anyways, excited to see what Zach does, but we're focusing on battles here. And for the 83s, my Lord, do we have some battles? Now, this is going to be a big one. I've gone through this, I think, and I'll get all your opinions. And we all did a lot of scouting on this one, diving into all of the lifts and whatnot and checking on body weight. We're all excited. I think, do we all agree on this? Let me throw this out there. Is Joey B the man to beat?
I would agree. Yeah, I think so.
At home, for sure. Internationally, likely. But there's also a couple of people international, but it's not international. So at home, yes. Yes.
Rory, is he your favorite in this battle? We'll go deep into all the contenders, but off the hop.
I think Joe B's ceiling is the highest. Let's go with that. His ceiling is the highest.
Now, we could start diving a little deeper, but Joey's obviously already totaled 900 kilos in the gym in January, did 885 in November. The weights that he's putting up in the gym anyways on these SBD days are absolutely crazy. He definitely has, to your point, Rory, he appears as though he'll be the strongest guy in the room. He's got the biggest ceiling. However, he's not without opposition. So let's take a little deep dive into some of this opposition. Among those is some world champions. Taylor Atwood, whom, crazy enough, seems to be a stitch slept on. I've seen some people being asked about 83s, and some people didn't even bring his name up. And they were talking about all the other 83s in the U.S. Nationals, and they forgot Taylor. I don't know what's going on here. But Taylor Atwood, we seen him cruise control hit 810, and then I seen in his stories mention an 840 training total. Now, Kafui is one of my good friends, and he is trained by the strength guys. And he said a lot of the times they're programming around here, you're hitting what they think are your opening weights. I don't think 840 is going to be his opening, but we're around there anyways. Use that as an anchor. I don't know where Taylor's going to end up, but previously his body weight wasn't a full 83. He's like 84 he posted. He's going to cut a little bit of water. He's a real 83 now. And the numbers he's hitting in training, and he said, I have never felt this strong before in my life. This is a 3-time world champion, GOAT, Taylor Atwood talking. People need to take this a whole lot more serious than they are, I think. And when I was in New York over the weekend with Russ, Delaney, and Taylor, which, by the way, was freaking insane watching those guys train together. Like, amongst the 3 of them, there's 7 world titles, and they're all squatting, and it was talk about a vibe. but it was crazy. And everyone stopped what they're doing and just circled around them while they're training together. And the shit talk a little bit friendly, but the little bit of shit talk between Delaney and Taylor was hilarious. Taylor's like essentially, I'm paraphrasing, dad's home now, right? So, and Delaney's like, no, 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 no. You should have came up 2 years ago. It's too late for you now. You should have got me when you had the chance. And it was funny because like they're boys are just talking, but it is going to be competitive, which does lead me to Delaney, who's also a two-time world champion. Amongst the others in here, Chris Perez, I got, it looks like he's coming off a bit of an injury here and he's not hitting top end. I'm not entirely sure. I'd seen that in some of his posting here. I made a note. On the flip side, our rival of Chris Perez have gone back and forth a couple times. Angelo has hit huge numbers, squatted 320 kilos, bench press 182.5, and bench press was really his Achilles heel previously. Now, 182.5 isn't monstrous, but at the same time, that's no longer a massive weakness, which is going to heavily hamper his total. And then he'll top it off at the end of the day with 365 kilo deadlift. I mean, that's a huge 867.5 on my math. Now, I don't know if, I mean, you got to put it all together at the same day and weigh in and blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying the progress that he's made under John Song has been huge. So Angelo's right up in the mix, despite the fact that his highest total previously is 835. Don't believe that. Don't believe that for a minute. I expect him to definitely go over 850. Chris Perez, depending on how he feels, we'll have to see. I got a note here. He's looking for 850, but see, this is Chris Perez talking. Put a pin in that and we'll see. Delaney, same old. My man never posts. He's wild confident when I see him. He wasn't backing down. The weights were moving well, but my man never posts. And sometimes he sends me a video and I'm like, can I post this? And he says, absolutely not. So I don't know what the hell's going on with Delaney, but I could tell you this, when he was training with Russ and he was training with Taylor, my man did not lack confidence. So there's that. And then of course there's Sean Noriega. Sean coming out with an 850 total, and a big reemergence in powerlifting, if you will. I had him on Kingo's podcast, and he was talking openly about how, as a junior, he had such a fast start, huge climb, tons of height behind him. Crossed 800 kilos when 800 kilos was the big milestone, hit 825 back to back, and everybody's thinking, what's next? What's next? And he openly said, he didn't just plateau, he fell back, and for years was in these dark ages, if you will, for him. And he said just perseverance and working on his craft, and then eventually got back to 850. So he's reemerged. And with 850, obviously another contender. And all these gentlemen I just mentioned could all easily be 850 and up, which is freaking insane. If you think Russ was literally running the show in the 840s for the longest of times. So anyways, I did a lot of talking here. I'm excited for this battle myself. Rory, what are your thoughts on the 83s? You had done some research onto this in Sean Noriega in particular as well.
Sure. I'll sort of rattle through roughly from like lowest nomination to highest nomination.
Let me get one more in there. Sorry, Sean Jin. As I scroll down, sorry, I don't want to leave nobody. Yeah, sorry. Cannot forget Sean Jin, former junior world champ, floated up a weight class, came back down when he went to the USAPL. He's done 830. He 100% cannot be overlooked and is definitely a threat. And I would also not be surprised if he also levels up and is capable of going over 850. Sorry, go ahead, Rory. I mean, there's too many freaking 83s. It's crazy what the hell's going on here.
8 people that I want to talk about here, which is like as many as some other classes like put together. So I'll start with Sean Jin. So his best total is 830, but his most recent total was like only, no air quotes, only 820 at about 88, so in the 90 kilo class. His training looks distinctly mediocre. I'll be honest. He has to level up if he wants to hit the sort of 840, 850 that he probably needs to be in meaningful contention. So I saw a 318 kilogram squat, so 700 pound squat from him recently, that was high and extremely hard. So like realistically on the platform, probably looking at more like 310, 312, like on a good day. Most of his bench press looks pretty easy, but it's also all touch and go. And so he's like avoiding the hard bit of the range of motion. So is Sean Jin a contender? Like, yes, but he really needs to pull something out of the bag. It doesn't look like he's coming in particularly strong. And again, that's with the caveat that, you know, he has total 10 times body weight. He's coming in not particularly strong for someone who has total 10 times body weight.
Compared to the guys that he's going against. I got you. It's all relative.
Yes, like compared to say Joe B.
Yeah.
Taylor Atwood, looking really, really strong. I haven't seen the 840 that he's mentioned, but I did see the 810 that he posted. I don't think these numbers were actually on the same day, but he hit like a 285 squat, a 205 bench, and a what was the deadlift? A 320. So that was about an 810, and they looked not crazy hard, but like not quite like openers either.
So you think you're saying, for the record, you think he lied about 840?
No, I don't think he lied about 840. What I am saying is I can't judge how hard or easy they were, or like what kind of standard they were too. Now, Taylor Atwood does hold himself
did
to a
that not
very
sound
high
like an
standard.
accusation, Nat? What do you think?
Oh, that was pretty accusatory. I don't know about that one.
Accusatory.
Ryan's just trying to make sound bites for
That's
the,
right. Come
the-
on,
Yeah, it's
man.
already out. It's already saved.
Don't worry, I'm taking notes of the things that he said as
Right.
well.
Yeah,
So,
he's got to double back. He wants a raw cut of this podcast afterwards if he's got to. Exactly.
yeah. So
Okay, sorry, buddy.
I think that Taylor is coming in with his best total ever, but I think it's more like 850 rather than like 870 or 880.
Really?
That's based on what I've seen from his training. I do think he's hiding his top ends, and so that does make it a little bit of a shot in the dark. And his training is like not super maxable most of the time, but I think he's coming in sort of around the 850 mark, which would be phenomenal, right? Like that's a phenomenal total at 83. It's just not. I just don't think it's going to be top of the podium in this particular class. Christopher Perez, again, like you said earlier, he's coming in off an injury. He looks okay, but not phenomenal. Like I think he said in one of his posts that he's looking for 850. I got to be honest, I don't see where the 850 is coming from. His training looks decent, but again, it looks decent like in sort of 830, 840 kind of range. I've seen him hit in training about an 820, and I just can't see where he's going to find another 30 kilos on top of that. Like if he found another 10 or 15, that would be pretty good. But like, can he squeeze out another 30 on top of what I've already seen from him? I don't think so. Having said that, of course, I don't know the conditions that he's doing these numbers under, right? This could have been under very large amounts of fatigue. Ryan, you look like you want to cut in.
I found the quote I was looking for. When I was doing the scouting, this is it. He said, "I've had multiple injuries and very little momentum over the last 6 to 7 months." So this is actually this isn't just even a recent. This is an ongoing for the better part of half a year, which doesn't bode well for considering the fact like some of these other gentlemen, like I mentioned, are absolutely striving right now. So, yeah.
So I think that was pretty much since Rayleigh, which was I think his last meet. So that was July last year, and it seems like he.
Hold on. The pronunciation is Raleigh.
Knew
I'm
it.
just going to stop you there.
I knew it. I knew it.
What?
I knew it was coming. She was going to get violent.
That's my
This is
hometown.
going to get violent right now.
That's my
Yeah.
hometown, and
Respect on my
you just
city.
butchered that.
Rayleigh.
How do you say
Hold
it?
on a second.
Raleigh.
I love how
Why
Nat's
is it spelled like that if you say it like that?
Nat's-
All right.
What do you
Okay.
mean? Who uses an A like
Raleigh.
that?
Who uses it? Was offensive. It was aggressive.
God. All right. carry
No,
on.
there's not an accent aigu in there. All right, let's keep going.
Angelino Fortino looking really, really good. I think it looks like he's been really working on his weak points. Like obviously, Angelo's been like huge deadlifter, but it looks like he's put at least 10 kilos on his bench. So his best bench in competition until now was 170. The day that he hit his PR total was only in 165. Since then, I've seen him hit a 175 with a solid pause, good elbow depth. Like it was really, really good. In fact, if anything, it was probably one of the best bench presses I've seen out of any of these men in training. So I think Angelo looking extremely strong. Having said that, haven't seen him hit. He has hit a 320 squat as well, which is also excellent. But it doesn't look like his deadlift is moving that far, and like that's his real weapon. And I don't think that he will even have the biggest deadlift on the day. I think Joe Borenstein may actually have the biggest deadlift on the day still. And so that may put him at a little bit of a little bit on the back foot there.
Yeah, it's Angelo's, his squat, he bookends for that total. His squat has been moving. For him to be squatting in the 700s now, it's crazy the progress he's made there. His dead is already huge, so he actually doesn't need a heck of a lot of progress on it. To your point, yeah, I don't think he'll be pulling last on this day unless something crazy happens with Joey B. He usually did have the opportunity to pull last, which means, of course, he gets to pick what he's pulling for. However, I mean, frick, it depends on what these guys want to do, huh? But the big thing is, I'm telling you, now that he's benching into the fours, at least if he could do it on the day after whatever, he's in and around there. But it's going to be, look at it, if he puts all that together on the day of, I don't know. This is nudging past guys like freaking Taylor Atwood and Delaney, possibly. I'm going to swing around and get all you guys' impression on Taylor because I was a little surprised you thought 850 for Taylor, but we'll put a pin in that and see if everyone else agrees. Sorry, keep going, Roy. You're doing good.
Yeah. So, and Angelo, like, it doesn't actually matter in powerlifting where you find the kilos, right? Like whether he puts 10 kilos on his bench, 10 kilos on his squat. Like the point is that his subtotal is just like climbing a lot. And then so coming in with a strong subtotal and then an excellent deadlift, that does put him in a good position to sort of not necessarily pull into first place, I don't think, but at least to be able to pull for the podium if that's what he chooses to do.
Also, I did catch the Angelino. Be careful. You're going to get
apologies,
the Italian community's the Italian community is going to come at you hard, buddy. That
I almost busted a nut and said, "Hold on a second."
That's a slur, sir. That's a slur. That's not going to pass on this show. All right, keep going.
Yeah.
All right. Delaney, like a little bit of a hard one to talk about because, like you said, he doesn't post very much. Like I've probably seen 2 lifts in the last 6 weeks from him, and both of them were like buried in 20-minute YouTube videos. I think I saw a 330 deadlift from him that was like, the 330 deadlift was excellent, but like I don't know how many people are just going to like watch that much YouTube content to see one lift. And I think it was a 305 squat, which is not a PR for him, but it was very good. So like he looks strong, but like how strong? I don't know. I do think that people tend to look past Delaney though. Man's a 2-time world champion. He has pulled it out of the bag just like repeatedly when put under pressure. He came, sorry, apologies. Was it second at Sheffield a little while ago?
Yeah, he podiumed at Sheffield, man.
Podium, thank you. Yeah, podiumed at Sheffield. Like, man just pulls it out of the bag repeatedly when under pressure. And so even though he doesn't post a lot of his heavy stuff, in fact, he posts a lot. He just posts a lot of stuff that's nothing to do with his training. I think people are just overlooking him because he doesn't post a lot of heavy lifts. But he is coming in strong. Sean Noriega, struggling to assess because I would have red lighted every single bench press that he got in his last meet. I'm going to be honest, I would not have given him a single one of those bench presses. And his bench press is just such a weapon that if he has to repeat his opener to try and get a bench press in or something like that, because he's not hitting elbow depth, it's just going to put him at a massive disadvantage. His bench press has already taken a bit of a hit coming to PA. It looks like he's already made some modifications to his bench press to try and get a little bit more range of motion. But when I'm looking at these bench presses, I don't think it's enough. I think he needs more. And so, like, can he bench 215? Like, yes. Can he do it while hitting elbow depth? I don't know. I don't even know if he can hit 205 hitting elbow depth.
I don't even know if they're going to call elbow depth. I mean, this is a funny rule.
The difficult thing with elbow depth is that it's so inconsistent the way that it's called, right? Like if we look back to Worlds last year, Vicky and the 47s got called with bench presses that I thought were really good. And I thought they were plenty deep enough, but she bombed. They didn't give her a single bench press that day. Conversely, in Sean's last meet, I wouldn't have given him a single one of those bench presses. And sort of, I will point out, like I'm a referee, I'm like qualified to make that call. I would not have given him a single one of those bench presses, but he got them on the day, which is what mattered. So I think the question for Sean is, what are the conditions going to be on the day? And is he going to be able to adjust to them on the day? You know, if he gets his opening attempt and doesn't get it because of depth, can he find an extra 2 centimeters or an extra inch or something on his bench press? That's quite a lot of extra range of motion to try find. And I don't know if that's possible.
I think it's like I think he's been posting a lot of rep work mostly on bench press on Instagram. Like that's what I've been seeing. And I will say the rep work looks better than the singles that he posted from his meet. I will agree with that. So maybe he's adjusted a bit and we just haven't seen it because he hasn't posted the top end. Like what
yeah, maybe he took a gamble on meet day and sort of went with the high option, hoped to get one in, got it, and so he just rolled with it. And then he had a backup plan to be able to get deeper. Like these are the things that we just like can't really know unless he specifically tells us, right? So yeah, and he's been posting some great looking rep work, but it's reps in the sort of like 4 to 6 range. And some of it's like secondary and tertiary movements, things like that. And then Joe Borenstein just looks ridiculously strong, right? I think recently he hit a double at 293 on squats. His comp PB is 295. So when you're looking at like in the 300s for a squat, he's benched 213, and a really good looking 370 deadlift. He went for a second rep at that and didn't finish it. So, you know, what are we looking at here? Like 890 is kind of where I'm pegging Joe B.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, 890-ish.
Okay. Well, let me ask some questions here. Well, big body, first off, what do you think Joey B is on the day?
Yeah, so as Rory was talking, I slid in my calculations on our data points. I don't know if you guys were watching that being updated live, but I have Joe Borenstein. I have him bottom end on a comfortable day at 890. For whatever reason, I think his top end, if he needs to have it, would be about 902.5. He hit a 220 bench on that Saturday, the 7-hour session that he spoke of, where he had his dates and his Gatorade and all his snacks with him.
Wait, wait, he did a 7-hour training session?
If I remember correctly, all of that was done on the same day on a Saturday.
Wow.
And he was fueling throughout the day. And yeah, if I remember correctly, if I'm quoting correctly, he did all that in one day in a long training session. Yeah.
I'm tired just thinking about that. All right.
Yeah, the guy's literally working this like a job, but go on.
So 220, I believe he did 305. And then I think he pulled I may be wrong. Did he not pull 380? I don't know, 380 or 370, but he has a huge pull. He's been doing a lot of big pull work. I think that I don't believe he's going to have to cut for this meet. He's growing into this class. I think this is still, he's within the range of his first year eating into and kind of settling into this class. An explosion of progress. He's maximizing that window to grow in a class. And yeah, I got him around 890 to 902.5. I believe he'll have 902.5 if he needs to pull it out. I think 890 will be comfortable. To one of Roy's points, speaking from a referee standpoint, that's one of the big questions that I have are our referees at Powerlifting America going to referee at a very strict, tight standard? Because if it's very tight, it's going to make things incredibly pressure-filled and cutthroat, and it's going to be even that much crazier of a battle, right? Because the numbers that you're hitting in training, even if you're giving your best effort with controlled variables, you come into the day and you're still going to be, you can never account for what's going to happen on meet day unless you do a lot of meet days. And every meet day, a lot of times it's its own variable setting stage. So because of that, there's going to be things that none of us, you can have all the experience and all the things in the world. The more experience you have, it helps. But still, when you show up on the day, there's going to be something that you might not be able to account for, and you have to adapt literally in that moment. So, and that applies for all of the 83s and everyone that's going to compete on that day. So that's one of the big questions I have is, how is it going to be officiated? Working with some Swedish lifters when when I stay up super late at night and I'm watching them compete and their nationals, the Swedish referees, I would like to say they referee quite consistently to how they are when they're on the world stage, as opposed to, and if I'm just being as objective as possible for my own country, this is not a shot. This is all I'm saying with respect. I'm just objectively saying what I've noticed and analyzed is that in powerlifting America, or even in USAPL over the years, there would be times where you would say, okay, this meet was a little bit more stricter. We were officiating a little bit harder this meet. And then there were some of them where we say, hey, the bench pauses were kind of held a little light. They're giving us some quick calls. So we were able to maybe scrape out another 2.5, 5 keys. So those little things go a long way. Some nationals, they're not as hard on depth. The other nationals, you'll see an entire primetime session where like all squat sessions, there's like 2 people made their third squats and it's all red for the rest of the, highly touted battle that's going on. So there's a lot of those things to account for. But to answer your question, 890 is the floor, and I have 902.5 as the ceiling for Joe Bornstein.
So Joe is hit in the gym 300 squat, 220 bench, and a 380 dead, and that was his 900.
There you go.
And call me a hopeless romantic. I think the kid's going to hit 900. This is what I'm going. This is what I'm throwing out there. And for him to do that, obviously he needs enough of a spread, enough of a cushion, to start loading up. And essentially, he's got to what? He's got to have it locked up by his second deadlift, and then feel like, okay, I've already won this. I can now load up for 900 or something like that. I don't know, because if it's too close, then obviously you're just loading up exactly what you need to win. I don't suspect multiple people getting close to 900 to push him. So that's what his winning total would be. That's with some extra fluff. He would have to be pulling a Russell Orhii at that moment. I think he might be able to pull a Russell Orhii because, and this is guesswork to an extent, I'm looking at in our scouting reports as we look at the notes. I agree with, Sean Noriega. That's a really tough one. It depends on how the refs want to start calling bench. If he's able to adapt, even if he does adapt, his total is going to take a hit. But if they called it consistently like the local media did, Sean Noriega, for sure, he could add another 10 kilos onto his total. He could be about 860 to 870 range. Angelo, I also believe, is about, his 867.5 with some, some fire in the competition. It's the day of. I could see him rising to the occasion. And then also he's a big deadlifter. Even if he's not the biggest deadlifter now in the room, if it's a battle between the second placers and the podiums, I think he can make that. He's going to have the biggest deadlift amongst those guys. Okay. That's why I'm anticipating Joey B will have an opportunity to pull ahead and win, kind of like Russell Orhii fashion, with a bit of a spread. And when I'm looking at these other guys and I'm looking at the numbers I anticipate from them, I think it is a big spread, a big enough spread anyways. I don't know who else is going to be able to cover that. Now, talking about Delaney as well, I didn't see a lot of prep from Delaney in this one, but I know previously, if I add up what he's done in the gym, we're going to be looking at around 870-ish, 875 maybe. But 890 range to press Joey B? Again, I don't think so. I don't think that's coming. So we're dealing with, so I already went through Sean, Delaney, Angelo, Chris Perez, obviously on and off injured the past 6 months. So I don't think he's going to be pressing that. Sean Jin, strong guy. I agree with Rory in terms of he's going to have a great performance, but we're talking historic 83s here. So I don't think he's going to break out of the pack against this level of 83s. So as I'm running through all of these, I have nobody going over 880 like Russ almost did at Sheffield with that last deadlift. If Russ got that last deadlift and he was this close, he would have been 883. I don't see anyone doing that, but I do see, and I have literally seen Joey B do 900, albeit in the gym. So I think there will be a gap in Joey Bailey have the opportunity to go for that 900. There's one guy I didn't mention yet, though. When he talks, it sounds like bah, because he's a goat, Nat. That was over your head. Look at Natalie's face. She's no selling me.
So
Like,
confused.
It's like, what are you talking about?
all right.
She's like,
That was Russell Laurie. Russell Laurie, he said that on the video, and I didn't do it like I'm not fucking Russell Laurie. All right. So, anyways, it's Taylor. I don't know where Taylor's gonna be. He didn't show his 840. You know, now I'm not gonna go as far as Rory saying I think he's lying, but I do I needed to have seen it. And see how it moved. Did it move like opening type of weight? A lot of strength athletes or strength guy athletes, usually the programming, they don't do heavy top singles. It's more closer to, if not openers, slightly more than. And if that's around about opening weight, where is he finishing? I this is the one that's got me, is Taylor. And because it's fucking Taylor Atwood.
I got some comments on it.
Yeah. Let me hear.
I don't know how to put this. I don't know where the overlooking of Taylor is coming from, other than I'm objectively saying how I understand. I've worked with a lot of the youth before coming into powerlifting for a lot of years, and then still do that now for the years I've been in powerlifting. And I think I did it when I was young, when I was 20, 21. You don't have a lot of knowledge on the people that came before you. And a lot of people maybe tend to forget the past or discredit the past. Goats are goats for a reason. Taylor Atwood has definitely paved the way, and he's done some special things in the 74 class. And if he was able to do that, statistically, when we talk about dots and coefficients, the facts are through the numbers that when you move up a class, you're an even better powerlifter than you were when you were lighter. That's in most cases. And this is the case. You could say that for a lot of lifters. I could bring up the stats and the numbers for that. We're seeing the same case for Taylor now. I have him. I like to give, when you account for your opponents, I like to give them I like to say in my head, what is an incredible, crazy total that I don't see coming, but maybe has a 25 to 50% chance of taking place, which is a large gap. And for Taylor, I have something around like if an incredible, like we didn't see this happening, performance, like a 315 squat, a 210 bench, and like a 360 pull, which amounts to 885. And I think that number really puts him in contention to second place. I don't believe he has enough. I could be wrong, but based off the available information and what I know of Taylor and his team and how they like to do things, I don't believe he'll have enough to touch 890. If he did, I think you'll be talking about it. Everyone will be talking about it, right? But I also could see him doing something on the lower end around 875. And a reason for this is because I have a lot of respect for him, because I know what his best work is. He's healthy. He's strong. He's saying that he's the strongest he's ever been. And so when I take all these into account, I'm saying this guy's still a GOAT and he's still here. And yeah, he's older, but Jerns was older too. And he's fighting. Ray Williams is older and he's still out here going to take his, looking to be the favorite in his class for this national. So we have some instances where there's people that have been around for a while and are still here and are still threats to be podium in podium contention. So I just I wanted to make sure I mentioned that and those sentiments. I'm not overlooking Taylor. I think he's still special. Goats are goats for a reason. I have a lot of respect for what he can do. And I believe, again, closing out, I believe his range is somewhere between, even I'll say 870 floor to 885 ceiling. I wouldn't be surprised if he did that.
Sounds like you have Taylor second on the podium. Is that right?
Actually, I believe it's going to be 2 to 3 athletes in contention for second. It could be that. That's what I believe. I think it's going to be a dogfight for second and third.
Got thoughts. I'm gonna put a pin in it for a second. Nat,
Hmm.
what are we looking at here? What do you think about the battle of the 83s? If you got Joey B as the favorite, where are you putting Taylor, Delaney? There's question marks all around them. We got a lot of contenders here.
Yeah, I think Joe is just gonna pull away and kind of solidify it, maybe by the second, or possibly have to load maybe a slightly more conservative third to go ahead and win it. But I think just based off of like to comp standard lifting, attempt selection, and ceiling, like Joe kind of has that out of everyone. So I definitely have him kind of pulling away. And then the battle is going to be between second and third. So like going through the list here, I think that we know more on training probably from Angelo because he actually is posting it. So I can like pretty confidently say like where I know that he's kind of going to fall. And he does have the second kind of advantage over, I would say, like who is it? Taylor may be on his deadlift where Angelo could probably just load a hair more if he needs to, which is obviously a big benefit. I think Joe's going to be able to pull more on the day, but Angelo will have that strategy of being able to load a bit more than probably his other competitors trying to get into second place. So I have Joe, Angelo, or sorry, Angelina, as Rory said earlier, but I think that it's going to be him.
You're like going to
And
get me cancelled.
and then we have, I think, between third place, it'll be a toss up between Taylor and Delaney because I'm just putting a question mark over Sean just with the bench IPF depth. And then in the past, he's also had different calls on squat and different calls on deadlift too. Like there's out of looking at the numbers, like attempt selection wise, I just think the people who hit their numbers the most are Joe, Angelo, and then probably like Taylor. So if I had to pick three, that's my three, just based off of historically where are they hitting. Taylor's probably hiding some training. He feels really great. I don't want to overlook him, so I have that as my kind of like top three.
I didn't actually call a podium, so I'll do that as well. So my top four are the same as Nat's. I've got Joe Borenstein first, and then I've got the three sort of fighting for second and third. I have Delaney, Angelo, and Taylor. And if I'm going to actually pick numbers, I'm going to say Joe, Taylor, Delaney, and then Angelo. And so like I did say Taylor, I'm thinking like 850. And so I think my numbers are all just more conservative than the other numbers that people are throwing around. Like I think 850 is enough for a podium total. And I think that would be a fantastic day.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that too, because like we want to see, like the crazy high numbers, but I just don't know if they're there yet. Like it might just be like next year when they're there.
Lots of people talking 900. Like I've heard Delaney say 900. Obviously, Joe's done 900 in the gym. I just think translating those manifestations into like a comp total, it's just not going to be this meet. I don't think.
I agree with a lot. I think I have established in my mind's eye, and we all have a favorite with Joey B. If there's a sleeper of the division that I think can really rattle people, I think it is Angelo because he doesn't have the titles that Taylor has. He doesn't have the titles that Delaney has. And automatically, you got a two-time world champ, you got a three-time world champ, you got somebody who's considered one of the GOATs. So they're going to draw a lot of attention. But what I've seen him do in training and prep for this, all types of dangerous. All types of dangerous. And that's where you become the sleeper, and people might be sleeping on you because you're sure your resume isn't going to stack up to those gentlemen. But if he might catch one of them. He might catch one of them. I don't know about Delaney. He hasn't been posting, but my God, was he confident in New York? He was mad confident in New York, but he hasn't been posting, and it's difficult for me to say. But Taylor, when Taylor Atwood, the GOAT, says, "I've never been this strong," if I'm going to lean to somebody that's going to be the biggest threat to Joey B, in my mind's eye, I think Taylor's the one that that could possibly do it. And he has a mentality to him when it comes to meet day that's very difficult to match. He's a high performer. Go ahead, big body. You look like you want to jump in.
Yeah, and just to touch on Angelo, I think it's to be noted, the first 7-4-8 split in training, right? And I don't believe we've ever had that in a meet for the 83s. So that's
that
something
right?
to note. He's certainly dangerous. Lifts have improved. And to be the first one to hit in training, 7-4-8. I have, again, if I'm giving lifters like the best benefit for the day, right? I have Sean Noriega, Angelo Fortino, Taylor Atwood are three guys that I see that if they had phenomenal days we didn't see coming. Well, I think I see that potentially more for of any of them for Fortino and Taylor. Uh, um, Sean Noriega, I think the questions about some of the execution on some of his lifts is legit. It's not a knock, it's not a shot. It's just historically those questions are there. So I think it's fair to mention. But I do see Sean, Taylor, Angelo definitely capable of 875. I wouldn't be surprised, but man, they had a day. I saw it as a potential day. So that would be the battle for second and third. And Delaney, we'll see what he can do. I don't think he's posted his singles. I don't think he's posted a lot of really big. I think he did like 606 for 7 on squat. I believe he posted
Crazy.
a 340 pull with more in the tank on his YouTube video.
Is that okay?
What was that?
Is that okay? We got somebody who's going through his YouTube videos. That's good, man. So
Oh yeah,
that's a solid
yeah,
pull
yeah,
for him.
yeah. Just to give, and I know people are like, "Come on, man, you're on the same team. You know what's going on." Obviously, I have to act. I'm working to give the people something, but at the same time, in respect to my team, I'm trying to take care of everybody, right? I'm trying to take care of the people listening and also my people. But I saw the 340 with room in the tank that he shared, 215. I think he showed that, or 210. And then the 606 for 7 on squat. But that was like with some definitely with some weeks left. It was like 5 or 6 weeks out. He hit those numbers. So he's definitely confident. Anything can happen on the day. All these guys can be in rotation that I like to mention. There's not a knock on Sean Jin. I mean, the numbers I calculated that I believe he'll have puts him somewhere around 820 if he does a little better and makes some more improvements within the last 4 to 5 weeks. I know a lot of coaches like to build into meets. So I see him around 820, 830. Chris Perez, I think a great day for Chris Perez, given the things that you guys have mentioned. If he hit 840 would be, I think that'd be good for him considering everything. 840 would be great, right? But yeah, I just wanted to kind of mention that and try to look. I'm gonna say this. I think that this is going to be the greatest 83 kg battle that we've ever had in America.
But yeah, unquestionably.
I think so. That's what I think.
Unquestionably. I think these numbers are going to be like nothing we've ever seen. If these guys put up the numbers that we're talking about, and you
The
take a
bar's
look
been
at
raised.
who we're talking about. I mean, these guys could be up in the Hall of Fame, have their own wing over there for the 83s. I mean, these guys are the tip of the spear. We're going to see some fireworks, and this is one of the best battles we're going to watch for sure. If not, even at the top, if we're thinking Joey B's going to pull away just to get onto the podium. But listen, I say all this. Joey B's not safe. He can't come in here and phone this in. You got some absolutely phenomenal lifters coming up on you, and you slip up and you reach and overreach on your third squat and grind and miss. And now that impacts your third deadlift. 67% used to be the stat. You miss your third squat, you're gonna miss your third dead. Now what's gonna happen? It's gonna be a whole nother ball game. These guys are unafraid. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it shakes up. All right. Ready to move into the 93s?
Yep.
Here we go.
Let's do it. Now this is another one of the battles. We're talking battles here. no need to quickly skim through the 93s. Let's chill in the 93s and focus for a second. Jonathan Kaiko is back. And Jonathan has a lot of people wondering if we're going to see the very first 93 do a 10 times body weight total. He did 927 in the gym for a training total, anyways, all near limit. Gavin Aiden's back, the first 93 to go over 900 kilos, but we're well beyond that. We've seen that at Sheffield, and I think a lot of these guys are going to be able to go over 900. Petrie, whom for a stitch there in training, took a step back. Well, that step back was to get a running start. My man is flying now. Petrie looked like he's shooting on all cylinders. Well, I'll let you guys go into. We got the scouting report here, so I won't chew up all the numbers and the scouting that we've done. But Petrie is hitting hard. We got Dominic. We got Demetrius, Jamar Royster smashing some huge weights. And then, of course, we got Jack Reynolds, whom, again, I won't chew up all of the content here, but we got a group chat and we're all geeking out over some people's lifts. And Jack Reynolds feels like every freaking week his gym total jumps up 20 kilos. And he messaged me actually and said, "Hey, thanks for the repost." I go, "My man, your progress has been insane." And he says, "Yeah, get used to it. Get used to it." So he's crazy confident. And why wouldn't he be? Talking to Rory, and Rory's like, "My man, I think he's put on about 100 kilos on his total from last year." It's staggering. The kid's 18 and he only weighs 90 kilos and he did 875 in the gym. But yeah, it's wild. Rory, I'll throw it to you. My man, make sense of this battle for me.
Okay. So originally I glanced at Jack Reynolds and I was like, all right, best total 795. We're probably looking low 900s for, in fact, 930, we could potentially
800s.
even call mid 9. No,
Low
900s.
800s, right?
No. I said what I said. We're looking
Okay.
low 900s to be on the podium.
Okay. Sorry. Okay.
Let me talk.
All right. Sorry.
We're just beating up on Rory this podcast.
Honestly,
All right. I'm sorry.
Take it away. You got it.
All right. Jack Reynolds did 795 in his best comp. We're looking at low 900s for the podium probably. And so I was like, there's no way he's in serious contention. Like 20 minutes before we started recording this podcast, he posted and it was at 875.5 kilogram gym total, which means he's put like 90 kilos on his total since on the previous comp total, which I think was only November. So that's like 4 months or something. And so originally I was like, look, keep an eye on him, but I don't think he's in real contention here. I've changed my mind. I think he is in real contention here. I still don't know if he's going to be podium, like on the podium, given I think the podium is probably going to be kind of 900 and up. And I think he's realistically looking at high 800s. But that's not far away. And with this rate of progress, like next year, he's like really in the mix. Jamar Royster hasn't posted a lot of bench. He posted a 320 kilogram miss on deadlifts recently. So I don't think his deadlift has moved a lot, but his squat looks like it is improving phenomenally. So his best comp squat is 357.5, and I've seen him double 365 recently. I don't know what his squat top end is, but it's a big improvement over what he's previously squatted. So, assuming that he is benching around the same, looking at around like 195, 200 sort of range, deadlifting sort of around the 320 range, but adding at least 10 kilos, probably more like 15 or 20 on his squat. We're probably looking at sort of 885-ish for Jamar. Demetrius, best comp total, 872.5, coming from around a 300 squat, 200 bench, really big deadlift at 375. And his deadlift is actually looking really good in training as well. So his best comp deadlift is 375. He hit a 375 deadlift in training at like roughly the speed that I would expect a second to move, or maybe a little bit slower than I would expect a second to move. Now, of course, don't know what the condition of that was. Was it after heavy squats? Was it after heavy bench? Was it under a lot of fatigue? No idea. But that is a good sign. And his squat is looking really strong as well. So squat at 295, around the speed of an opener, maybe a little heavier than an opener. But given that his best squat in comp is, I think, 297.5, I think we're looking for a big squat PB from him as well. I'm sorry, PR from him as well. Dominique, best total 882.5. But he's benched a lot more than he has the day that he did the 882.5. So, and squatted quite a lot more than he did on that day. So I think he's probably looking for more like a 900. I think I said 902.5 in my scouting report, which is about another 10 kilos on the squat, about another 10 kilos on the bench. But I don't think he has a lot more to squeeze out of the deadlift at the moment. Brandon Petrie, haven't seen a lot of bench from him, but his squat and his deadlifts are looking fantastic. So his best meet was 895, but the sum of his best lifts ever is more like 910. So, even if he is able to put together his best lifts on the same day, which, can be a tall order, looking at about a 910 for Brandon. Gavin, obviously best total 901, officially the first 93 to pass 900 kilos, former world record holder. Huge squat, 341, has bench 222.5. And the day that he did his best total, he deadlifted 337.5, which is not his PB. He has pulled 345 in the gym conventional and way faster than any of his sumo deadlifts and comp have looked. So I think he's probably looking at a pretty big deadlift PB there. The tricky thing I think about Gavin that we need to keep in mind is that he notoriously has depth issues on his squat. And so to the earlier point, I actually agree. I think refereeing, I don't mean this as a knock, but refereeing in the United States sort of varies between quite strict and kind of middle of the road, like levels of leniency, right? And so that means that depending on the day, Gavin could get away with anything from a 345 squat at the high end. If he is strong, is able to like not squat super deep, if he just squats to his regular depth, he could get away with a 345. On the other hand, if they are super strict on depth, or if he's having a bit of an off day, he could only walk away with like a 315 squat, right? Like if he only got his opener in. And so that means that he has a really big swing on his total depending on whether he gets 3 squats in or not. And that could make the difference between, top of podium and like not even being on the podium, right? Like the difference between 1 for 3 on squats and 3 for 3 on squats from Gavin. And then I don't know what I want to say about Jonathan. He looks phenomenal. Like he's taken like 15 months off competition. He seems to be healthy for the first time in years. Like I think it was probably 2 years coming into that last meet that he did, that he'd been like at least a little banged up coming into every meet. That 827 training total, he could be the heaviest man to go 10 times body weight. Like that would be phenomenal. I don't think he had a ton left in the tank for any of those individual lifts. Like if there was anything left, it would be like a few kilos. We're not talking, he's not adding 10 plus on any of those lifts, but like huge squat PB, 318 kilograms. I think his previous comp best was 305. So like at least 12 kilos there on his squat. Bench is looking really good. I mean, his bench always looks good, but looking at about a 250, maybe a 255. I think I saw him bench 231 for 3 recently, which also looked fantastic. And deadlifting around 350. And so I think I'm going to call a podium now, but I'm going to say Jonathan, top of podium, 920. Gavin, on a good day, second, 915. And then Brandon Petrie, third at 910.
Tell you why this is so exciting is last year we were robbed of the head-to-head showdown between Petrie and Gavin. Gavin missed weight. They both posted the same total. Petrie would have won on body weight. So take that for what it is. But now let's get them in the same weight class going head to head. Kaiko's back. And Kaiko is at least, well, no, I would say he's probably the most established resume-wise 93 we've seen. He's got to be, if it's not Kaiko too, right? So Kaiko's back. And then you have a supporting cast underneath him that can always jump up and and create some spice into the mix if anybody starts. When you have three people that are rivals like this, that are close enough like that, you push each other, and sometimes they start missing, and then the door swings open for someone else to jump in. And also, I agree, Jack Reynolds, even if not contending with these gentlemen yet, and I agree with you, Rory, in that I think you got to be 900 kilos and up to hit that podium. And maybe it's too soon for Jack to be doing that. Very intrigued just to see how he performs. Like he's 18 and he's only 90 kilos. This is a 93 kilo class. I just want to see what he does. I'm not expecting him to hit the podium, but let me see how this kid. And it's really good for him to be able to operate under those conditions where people aren't putting pressure on me like I got to win this or I got a podium. The pressure's not on for him. It's just show up, have fun, lift big. Nobody expects you to beat any of these monsters or titans inside your weight class yet. So just show up and do your thing. So very intrigued. And again, yeah, Jamar Royster, what the hell are you going to say? 365 for a squat double? It's insane. That's absolutely ludicrous. Whether or not he ends up on a podium or not, I mean, my man is, I can't, I need to see where he's going to take that squat. I need to see him on a U.S. national team and take that squat world record for a freaking ride somewhere, whether he goes North Americans or whatever the hell. We got to see him do this like at an international level, because that's an incredible squat. All-time great squat, obviously. But yeah, I am super intrigued by Petrie, Gavin, and Kaiko. This is a rivalry, and you made some great notes, Rory, about the potential swing on total for Gavin is what makes it difficult. He's like the Sean Noriega over here, huh? Where in the 83s, it was Noriega's elbow depth. In the 93s, it's Gavin's squat depth. You give him 3 squats, could be trouble. You take away one of his squats, you might be taking away 2 of his squats, because he kind of sort of goes all in, doesn't he? We're going to find out real quick if Gavin's in the hunt in this or if he's going to be finishing off podium. And Petrie and Kaiko look absolutely phenomenal. Big body. I know you, obviously, Kaiko's one of the flex boys. I don't know, you can't disclose overly a lot, but he's been posting a lot. He's actually pretty transparent. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I counted. I know about Joseph Franzo's programming a little bit. And for some priority days, I counted for the designated days that needed to show up. I counted 5 of them in a row where he hit bench PRs. It was like in a spree of like a week and a half. It was just session after session after session after session after session. And I'm just like, I've never seen his bench explode like this. And, you know, with someone that had 245, 250-ish range, and then you see some more progress happen, like that bench is incredible, right? I think he's one of the best classic benchers in the sport. I think he's made phenomenal progress. An area that was massively needed an improvement was the squat. I do see a reality where something around 217 and a half, something in that range, give or take by a little or a lot. I mean, by a little bit over or under, could be his squat. I believe that he will have that 927 to 930 range, kind of like we were talking about with Bornstein. Does he need the 900 or not? I believe Kaiko will have that. I think he like bouncing off of what you guys said, healthiest he's been. I believe that his pull, his squat, and his bench will be there. I just believe that the bench is just too much. This is not knocking anyone. I'm just objectively talking about what I believe. But also, can I talk about a sleeper, or do you want me to wait?
Go ahead, buddy.
So Demetrius Smith, they believe that he's gonna have a real shot for podium. And I think it's not a secret. I'm saying to the other contenders, I believe they know this as well. I'm definitely excited to see that Gavin and Brandon battle. I think they're going to be able to officially do it this time, as opposed to last time when Gavin missed weight. But where I see some issues taking place is, and this is not to knock Dominique Fuqua, Jamar, or Jack Reynolds. I believe they'll be battling for the top 5 positions. And it's crazy to say that with an 18-year-old in there. But Demetrius has had a really good prep, in my opinion. And I believe he's going to be that strong to where I do see him going over 900. And I do see a reality where with Kaiko, Gavin, and Brandon fighting for the podium spots, I definitely see Demetrius being able to kind of, if you look at Angelo Fortino over the years in the USAPL years, he's always been able to capitalize off of like the top battles in the podium, fighting for that spot. Someone makes a big miss, and Fortino's been able to capitalize and benefit from sliding in. I definitely see that same scenario with Demetrius. So guys have to be on their P's and Q's. They can't make mistakes. This is also going to be one of the better, if not best, 93 battles we've seen in America, I believe. And I believe Demetrius, we call him Meech. I believe Meech is going to be capable of closer to a 700 squat. I believe his bench is strong enough, and I believe his pull is, he might have the strongest pull or the second strongest pull on the day. And I think he's in big contention for sure. He's a sleeper, and you can't overlook him. So I'm excited to see him have his day. I think he's worked really hard for it. But yeah, I think podium's going to be between those 4, Kaiko, Gavin, Petrie, and Meech. But yeah, as far as Kaiko goes, I think he's got a lot in the tank. And also the same sentiments that I mentioned about Taylor, I'm giving my respect to Kaiko, whether he'd be on my team or not, just for what he's done in his career. I can't overlook him. I think he's going to be dangerous as well as the other 3 I've mentioned.
One thing we haven't mentioned about Kaiko yet that I think is important to mention is that he's extremely realistic and practical about what his top end is on any given day. Like if he says that he can lift a particular number, that's pretty much exactly what he has in the tank, right? And so he consistently is going 8 for 9, 9 for 9, like, and nobody's mentioned that yet. But like if Kaiko comes in saying like I got 920, 930, he's got 920 or 930, right?
Good point. I remember at one point I called him, and this was a little bit of pressure, Mr. Perfect, because he, at the national and world level, he didn't miss a single lift. As a matter of fact, he was winning world titles without getting even a single red light. He was perfect. And I started dubbing him Mr. Perfect. I mean, that's a lot of pressure to put on somebody, but so obviously he has missed over the years. He's been around long enough, but his hit rate is extremely high. He knows what he's doing. He doesn't overreach. If he's doing it in the gym, he's probably going to bring it over to the platform, to your point. And that's a good, and his style of lifting is uncontroversial. Unlike Gavin, it could swing either which way given the day. He very rarely has controversial calls where it's 50-50. I don't know. Should he have gotten it? Okay, he got robbed. Whatever the conversation goes, that's usually not him. Nat, what do you think here? Looks like we got the big 3 and a great supporting cast beneath them, but big bodies, right? You got guys like Meech, Dominique. You got a lot of guys who could easily jump up if someone starts to slip. What do you think about the 93s?
Yeah, I think that's what's kind of great about like the 93 class, because like if you pick these top 3 guys, you have 3 more that are pushing them and they can make a mistake. And that's kind of when you're overlooking those people that are almost on the cusp of podium, but not quite. And if you just miss, let's say, a third squat, if Gavin doesn't hit depth or something, that opens the door for kind of Meech to come in and pull something, because he probably will pull last. Like I didn't realize how big of a pull he had until looking through his like training, but that's kind of insane comparing what we think Jonathan or like Gavin would hit. So like let's say one of those guys misses something, there definitely opens the door for him. But it's really hard to like do a bet against Jonathan because he is so consistent. And I think it's his strongest ever. And I haven't really seen him struggle like with a weight issue or having a big effect of his like gym numbers, the way he's able to hit on the platform. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like he's always pretty consistent. So I would just put Jonathan consistency, like kind of the guy to beat, like we talked about earlier with like Joe and everything. But I think Jonathan's going to be for the 93 is the guy to beat there. And then it's going to come down to one who recomps good after making weight because Gavin, it's tough to make weight. Brandon, everyone has to make weight. Like it's going to be a cut process and who can recomp the best and have the best game day plan. So just based on training and everything, it's going to come down to those last, I think, two pools between Gavin, Petrie, and then Meech. Honestly, I think that Meech might slide up and try to go for the podium spot if, let's say, Brandon or Gavin misses a squat.
Good point on Meech with that deadlift. Him and Petrie are neck and neck with who might pull last, and it might be Meech. Like Meech is looking to take someone's spot, is what it is. You got the big three, and Meech has a big deadlift, and he'll deadlift after Gavin, he'll deadlift after Kaiko, and he might even deadlift after Petrie, depending on how the day goes. But this is where lot number is going to make a difference. This is where body weight's going to make a difference. By the way, Meech historically is a little lighter than these gentlemen. I don't know where big body. You know where Meech's body weight is at now?
It looked super light on Instagram. Like he just posted that he was like underweight.
I want to say, I could be wrong. I did ask a while back, but I want to say around 91, 92.
He weighed in at his last meet, which was in December at 91.4.
There you go. I mean, listen. Meech has got some work to do to put onto his total, though, if he's got to catch up with Petrie, Gavin, and Kaiko. He does need to, he's people got to miss, he's got to hit. And he's got to throw quite a few kilos onto his total to catch him. Doesn't mean he can't. He's young. He's still filling out the weight class. And to the point, he does have a big deadlift. And also stands to reason amongst the big three, when they're battling, it will be Petrie who gets to have the last say amongst them. It'll be him who decides. And this is telling because if Petrie tells himself, I'm pulling for gold, I'm pulling to go back to Worlds, that's where I'm pulling. That is exactly where, if he loads up because he needs to cover a big gap, misses, he can not only fall back from first to second, he could fall off the podium. And that's where a gentleman like Meech could end up on there, especially if lot numbers and everything works out and Meech gets to pull afterwards and gets to see, oh, Petrie swung huge, missed. Now it's my turn to help onto the podium. That's where these shakeups can happen because you got the gentleman at the top all vying. If this was the end game, you're going to pull, for podium, on the podium, for medals, etc. This is not the end game, though. Everyone wants to go to Worlds. And coming in second is not good enough. So a guy like Petrie, he's going to load. He's going to load. It doesn't matter where he's at. Petrie sees himself as a champion. He wants to go back. He's loading. Let's see what happens. Should be interesting. All right. Let's first off, let me ask this question. We'll do a quick round table. Entire podium over 900 kilos. Yes or no? Nat?
I say 2 out of 3. I think first and second will be over 900. I think the third will probably be like maybe 895. I don't know if 3 guys are all going to go 9 for 9. I think that'd have to be a pretty perfect day for all 3 to go over 900.
Big body?
Yeah. For 3 lifters to hit over 900, I see that they all need to go 9 for 9. But I definitely see some misses. There's going to be 4 of these 4 lifters. I see at least 2 misses before even getting to that third attempt pool. And I definitely see at least 1 miss on the third attempt pools. So I think I would agree somewhere around with Nat's assessment. I would say something closer to 2 out of 3. There could be a reality where everyone's just perfect, everyone's keeping it honest, and you see, all podium lifters 900 and above. But I see at least whoever gets third place might have had a crucial miss, whether it be by a large or a smaller margin. So yeah, I would say 2 for 3. That's what I have for the podium.
Rory?
So the numbers I said before were 910, 915, 920. To be clear, those are the ceilings. And I don't think everyone's going to hit their ceiling. So I'm also saying no, we're not seeing all three going over 900. I think realistically, two.
Hey, I'm going to be the only one that I think all three go over 900. I really do believe that.
That's an
I think
optimist.
well, here's the thing. I saw Gustav and Emil both go over like 910. They went 915, 917. And I think these guys are on par.
Yeah.
I really do think that they're on the level of Gustav and Emil. So I think they'll go over 900. Now, when you're in a battle, in attempt selection, you get pushed. Sometimes you get pushed in and over the limit. And, I'm not betting my house on this. Okay, I think you guys got a good point here. Things can get ugly when you're in a battle like this. But I think the podium's going to be 900.
What are the totals that you see for that top three over 900?
I do agree. So because I'm commentating, I'm trying not to make picks. So I'm stopping a little bit short. But I do like looking at your assessment without getting too into the weeds. I think you guys are pretty on the money. Yeah, you're pretty on the money. The
That's fair.
big thing is, I would just say I have seen meets where when someone's inspired and they come out for a Titanic final pull, crazy things can happen. And that's what makes me wonder what the hell's going to happen at the end, especially when I know how badly these guys, all three of those big three have already been to the world championships. All three of them desperately want to get back. Oh.
It's going to be crazy.
Look like you want to say something, Rory? Something come to you or no? You good?
Yeah. Like occasionally we see people sort of like rise to the level of their aspirations in competition, but like way more often we see people fall to the level of their preparation. And so like as much I would love to see. In fact, I had 4 people over 900. I had Dominique at 902 as a ceiling, and I would love to see 4 people go over 900. I think it's way more likely that people are going to miss attempts and not actually hit those numbers that they are potentially capable of one day.
I mean, fair enough. Look at saying you could do this at a local meet, but saying it's going to all happen on the perfect day at nationals is entirely different situation. All right, let's keep it pushing. We'll move into the 105s, and again, we're focusing on battles. We can give mentions here and there, but let's focus on battles here. And in terms of the 105s, we got ourselves a battle. This is a legitimate battle. We're going to stop and we're going to hang out in the 105s for a second here and dissect this. This is a sleeper battle for me for a couple of reasons. A, Keenan Lee will not be in prime time, but Keenan Lee 100% is a primetime lifter. This is due to scheduling. I don't know if Anthony McNaughton is going to join him earlier or he's going to end up in prime time. I think the roster for prime time has been revealed. If one of you guys want to fact check, I think Nat's on it. I could read her face right now.
Trying to see because they just like finalized the prime time.
Did they? Okay.
Due to drop. So let me see.
Okay, thank you. I'll keep going if when you pull that up, by all means jump in. But so
it still has him in prime time. Yes, I think Anthony in prime time with Wardley and Kevin Paul.
Okay, so listen, yeah, and Kevin Paul also is up there as well. So listen, let me throw this out here. Keenan, I remember USAPL Battle of the 105s. It was a big three. It was Keenan Lee, it was Bob Matthews, and Ashton Rouska. Ashton, due to military duties, had to go in during the day. Bob, who never had a fight he didn't like, said, I'll join you. I don't need an advantage. And then Keenan Lee, ever the gentleman, said, yeah, I'll join you as well. That was amazing. But I totally respect if Anthony McNaughton says, you know what? That ain't my problem. I'm doing primetime. I fought to get into primetime. I want primetime viewership. Primetime's going to hit a whole lot different. He wants experience, and hey, he has a bit of an advantage. He'll know exactly what he needs to beat this. And Keenan Lee has a lot of hype coming in here. He came on Kingless podcast. He said he wants to be a 105 that hits 1,000 kilos. Keenan Lee's gone head to head with Ashton. He's gone head to head with Bob. Keenan Lee said he's getting married in April, and his wife was like, well, let's plan our honeymoon. He said, well, honey, why don't we put a pin in it, because we're probably going to be in Europe this summer. And they started booking travel dates around Europe in June because he's that confident. As a matter of fact, he told his wife, don't bother booking anything in England, though, because we'll probably be in the UK come January, February-ish, because I'll be at Sheffield as well. My man Keenan Lee is not lacking in confidence. I love it. Look, we had this conversation about Jonathan Garcia. I love it. However, when the podcast dropped, you know how many people jumped into my DMs and said, he's sleeping on Anthony, and Anthony is not to be slept on. If you take a look at Anthony's possibilities here, as I pull up their numbers, he hit 945 as a 102. His body weight was 102. He hit 945. So he has 3 kilos to spare on body weight. And he missed his third squat, which cost him 10 kilos. Oh, by the way. So if he had hit his third squat, he would have got 955. And the world record is 940.5. Do the math. Anthony McNaughton is a world-class 105, and you don't want him to catch you lacking. Now, I don't know if Keenan is necessarily looking past him. And this is a bit of a special case in how you guys feel about the fact that they're not going head-to-head. So whether or not Keenan's looking past him or not, he's not even going to see him on that day. There'll be no gamesmanship back and forth on that day. It'll be all just straight up, let me max out. Does that change how you guys feel about it? Sometimes people are better when they're going against somebody else. So anyways, the 105s, intriguing battle. We got some other veterans in there like David Wilson, a sneaky contender also, guys like Kevin Paul, Debo's in the mix. The 105s are strong, but certainly at the top of the end, it's those two that seem to be leading the charge. Big Body, what are your thoughts on the 105, sir?
Yeah, so if the viewers were watching my face move around a little bit, my eyebrows were moving up and down, my mouth was, and I was checking out, just keeping my eyes fresh so I can give you guys a good assessment. I have Keenan Lee. I believe he'll be around that 950 range. If he can do the 955 on the day, I don't know. Does his deadlift peak a little bit more? Can he hit 960? If he can hit 960, in my opinion, unless they call him a McDouble thick, I believe. Anthony McNaughton, that's his IG handle. Unless he adds a little bit more from what has been shown on Instagram, can he take a look at the sheet and say, okay, what did Keenan do this afternoon or during the noon session? Okay, I have to beat this number, right? He's definitely in the range. I believe it's going to be somewhere between 10 to 15 kilos. I have Anthony hitting something around 345. If he hit a 350 squat, that's big for him. The pull, something around 350-ish, maybe 355, that'd be huge for him. I have him around a 235 bench. I saw him do a 232.5, more on the side of closer to touch and go. Could have been paused, came to more of a better dead stop pause, if you will, to clean standard. Can he put 2.5 more keys on top of that and hit it to standard on the day? There's potential. I'm not going to say no, but it would put him around that, that 945-ish, 935 range based off what I'm seeing. If he improves a little bit more, even if you give him, 15 on top of 935, what he showed in training, puts him at 950. I think Keenan Lee just has a little bit more. I believe he does. I cannot say confidently, I could be wrong, but I cannot say confidently that I feel Anthony McNaughton could do over 960. At the same time, everybody peaks differently. He could peak like a god, like a powerlifting god, right? and Anthony McNaughton could rise as that new young gun, to say, I'm here. It is a bummer that they're not going to be able to go head to head on the same platform. I think that really changes things a lot. But given the scenario of them competing in two different sessions, Anthony has the advantage, but I don't know if he's going to have just enough strength to get over what I believe Keenan will have. So I'll leave it at that.
Keenan, yeah, it's tight. Keenan has done 957.5, like he's slightly over 105, whatever. He's around 955 range. He did 955 in training. For what that's worth, how exactly that peaks, because he's talking massive numbers. I don't know where those are coming from. If he's hit things that he's not posting, or if 955 in the gym for him will translate into something huge. Only he knows. But he's talking extremely confidently. On the flip side, Anthony, you give him that third squat, he's 955. He did 945. That's so close. I mean, that's for boys this big. That's a bench attempt difference, right? Can be anyways. And again, the advantage of knowing exactly what he needs. I don't know. It's tough. It's Natalie, what are you thinking here?
So obviously I'm like a little biased and have a little introspection on Keenan's lifts because I do his nutrition coaching. But
Oh.
I'm not gonna say anything. But I'm biasing because I really want to see Keenan do well, and I know Anthony's going to come in hot. It does stink that they're not in the same session because it takes away the competitiveness of direct head-to-head, watching them come out one after the other, which is like always fun as a spectator. And it does give Anthony the advantage to not perhaps overreach and just know what he has to hit to win on the day. And that's where the biggest advantage comes down to. Yes, you have to be the strongest person, and Keenan's going to push it to, I think, the highest possible number that he can do and just sit and wait and see what Anthony's going to do in the evening session. That's all you can do. And if you hit something that the person in the prime time can't touch, then you're the strongest person on the day and you get the world spot. So I think they're both really, really close. I was looking through like Keenan's and Anthony's Instagrams and seeing what they've been posting lately. And like they're both kind of talking that like the 945 to 955 range isn't going to be enough to win. So I'm betting both of them are planning on trying to push to like maybe like 960 or something, which we'll see what happens on the day. But I think both of them are just trying to hit the biggest possible total. So I don't want to have to like choose between these guys, but I think that we'll kind of see what standard Keenan sets earlier in the day and then see what Anthony can hit.
I think you have to choose between the two and say Keenan, you're his coach.
Okay, fine. If you insist, I'll say that.
Yeah, I think it'd behoove you to. Quick question though. So this is interesting. I'm actually glad we got you here because Keenan Lee, he said it on the podcast, and you guys could probably see on the Open Powerlifting when you're looking this up as well. His body weight was quite a bit down. Where's his body weight now? Because I was surprised to see he was 98 kilos when he did 940. And he was mentioning on the podcast his body weight was coming back up as he was, eating into the 105s. Where's his body weight now? Unless this is
I don't want to say it because I think he's hiding it because he hasn't posted it on
really?
his Instagram. So I don't want to just out him and be like, oh, well, it's this. He's like being
he's struggling for
it.
body weight. And it's all right.
He's actually cutting down from 120 right now. It's crazy. Like
already in the sauna.
Yeah, he's already dieting right now.
He's cutting from 120. All right, settle down. I queued you up there. That's fine. Yeah. All right, Rory, what are you thinking here?
I feel like as the audience and as fans of powerlifting, we're getting a little bit robbed from the fact that we're not going to see these gentlemen go head to head. Like Keenan on a normal day, I would say Keenan has the advantage. They're like neck and neck total wise, but Keenan just has this massive deadlift on him, and that's normally a huge advantage, right? Biggest deadlift, lot number, body weight, right? Like those are the big advantages, and just being the strongest man in the room. Those are the advantages that you care about in powerlifting. But he's going to have to do this like 4 hours before Anthony even weighs in or something. Like all of those advantages just absolutely nullified. Anthony knows from the moment that he hops on the scales to weigh in, he knows exactly what he needs to do to win. He knows how to, or sorry, what he needs to do to beat Keenan at least. He knows how to pace for that. Like it's possible Keenan goes 9 for 9 and just sets a massive high tide mark that's just unreachable. And like that would be kind of cool. But if he doesn't, like if he drops a lift here or there, if he overreaches on the deadlift to try set that high tide mark even higher, and Anthony just like knows what he needs to pace for and just like
it's such a big disadvantage not being together.
Such a big disadvantage. Yeah, it's just a shame we don't get to see it head to head because it robs all the gamemanship out of it. So look, I think Anthony ends up having this huge advantage of like just knowing what he needs to do, which is a real shame.
Okay, so if it was you were the lifter, you're in Anthony's position. Do you stick in prime time or do you go into the afternoon morning session and battle head to head?
Winning's winning. Like you win on body weight, you win by you win by half a kilogram, you get to go to Worlds. You win on body weight, you get to go to Worlds. You want to go to Sheffield, you have to go to Worlds first, right? Like, if I was Anthony, I would say, look, that's not my problem, and I would try win by any means necessary, by any means within the rules necessary.
Big body.
You're out here with like a baseball bat, Rory, just out here trying to win.
Yeah, exactly. You drop your belt, you reach down to pick it up, Rory kicks dirt in your eye. That's how he's going. Big body. How about you?
Can you go ahead and repeat?
If you were in Anthony's shoes, do you stay in prime time or do you drop down into the afternoon session and battle head to head?
The practical person is going to go, what are you talking about? But me personally, if I was as strong as Anthony McNaughton and I was a 105, I would take the battle. I'd go down because if you're going to do something and you're going to, I believe you're going to do something, you're going to do it to show that you're the best. In order to show that you're the best, you want to leave no doubt. You don't want questions. So I would go down to that noon session and I would say, let's go head up. Let's run it. I come from an American football background, and contrary to popular belief, there's a lot of honor in the cultures that I've been raised in within American football. Yes, this is powerlifting, but it's still a sport. And for the sake of sport and honor, I would want to leave no doubt. And if I'm going to beat you, I'm going to do it head up. I'm going to do it in the same session on the same platform. Because if in fact I do win, even for myself, I can know there's no questions to ask. I did it on the same day, same time, same scenario, same round of attempts, right? No questions, and now the other side is thinking, screw that, you have an opportunity to go to Worlds, and if he's not competing, what are you doing? Take that, and I get that too. So I'm leaning more towards, it's stupid if you want to just say like getting the best opportunity and setting yourself up for the greatest chance. If he's not in the primetime session, he's not in the primetime session. I totally understand that. I just lean a little bit more towards, I'm going to leave no doubt, and I guess you get a little bit of more extra brownie points for that. But most people be like, screw the brownie points. I'm taking the ticket to the world stage.
Yeah, so to Ryan's earlier point, if this was the pinnacle, I would agree with you, right? Like if this was already the pinnacle, I would say, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it head to head. Let's go. But it's not, right? There's
national pathway. Yeah.
Yeah, this is whoever wins this gets to go to what's actually the pinnacle. And that window isn't open for very long for most people, right? Like that window is open for between 1 and 3 years, maybe, if you're really good. You got to take it with both hands when it's there.
From a coaching standpoint, I'm telling my lifters, stay in prime time. But you're asking if it's me,
Yeah.
I'm going to say, let's do the battle. That's me, just for me.
Matt, this is good conversation. I'm glad both of you guys actually inadvertently went on opposite ends of it and gave good objective accounts.
I have to grab a charger real quick, so give me 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. No worries, boy. Now you've been to Worlds. You know what someone might be missing if they don't go. What are your thoughts on it?
Oh, if you have the advantage and this is nationals, you should take it. Like the end goal is to be a world champion. To get there, if your biggest goal is that, you should take the advantage of being in the primetime session. If you want honor, take it at Worlds. Move down. If heaven, forbid they're in a B session, A session, going head-to-head battle. Then even then, maybe if you want some honor, take it there. But there's a toss up where if you're in a world scenario and you are in prime time and the next best lifter is in the session before you, there's still an advantage there that they didn't hit the total they needed in prime time. So that's their problem. And you could hypothetically compete, in prime time and take the advantage there too. So I don't know. I say win, just focus on winning your end goal, and that would be worlds. So I wouldn't compete in the same session or come down probably.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It is freaking tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it all depends. I think honestly, for me, it is for myself. I would put a lot of stake in getting to Worlds, and I would be like, I don't care. I'm going to Worlds. This is all your problem. But then once I get there, because Worlds is a life experience, right?
Yeah.
But to Big Body's point, if it wasn't that, and it was like this is the battle, like when they were in USAPL, and that was the end.
Yeah, and everyone
That was
came
the
down
end.
to the morning session. Everyone woke up to watch the morning session. Yeah, that was phenomenal. I'm glad they did that.
But there was no Worlds for USAPL, so that's why it made sense.
Yeah.
It was the end. It was the end game. What are you doing? Let's
Yeah.
battle. So that's why I could see both, but whatever. It's a good discussion. All right. Let's move on here. We're focusing on battles. That was the 105s. 120s. We got Mike T. Regan is here. Devin, who is obviously a flex athlete, is in the mix. To a lot of people's dismay, Bob Matthews has pulled himself out of the 120s. And this was supposed to be, because if everyone listening, Rondell Hunt is at PA Nats. Rondell Hunt is going to be in prime time. Rondell Hunt is not vying for the national title because he's not an American, but he'll be there. He'll be present. The strongest 120 alive, the strongest 120 to ever live is going to be at this event. So that's special, and it's a return for Rondell. It's a bit of a quick turnaround for him. He didn't know he was coming until relatively late. He's got about a month, maybe 5 weeks-ish to prep for this. Actually, probably around 4 weeks, about a month. So he's going to post up something good, but it may or may not be, the greatest 120 performance we've ever seen, like he's capable of when he's fully peaked. He actually, when he pulled 425, he posted on his Instagram story, I think that 425 created generational fatigue. That's how tired he was. Like his kids are going to be born like, I'm a little tired. Feel for the first 10 years of their life. Okay, here grade 6 or 7, they're going to start pulling out of it. But anyways, Rondell's going to be there. Excited to see what Rondell does. It's a bit of a preview, obviously, for what's to come. Big Dev, phenomenal 120. Got to think that he's the favorite with Bob Matthews pulled out. Big Dev was strong enough to keep Bob Matthews honest. Obviously, a world-class bench press on Big Dev. I'll let Big Body, who's familiar, he's one of the flex boys. Big Dev could speak about Big Dev a little bit. Regan Henderson, super strong. Mike T, absolute legend of the game. And Mike T, I had some gym lifts in here. Here we are. A squat, hit 322.5. Deadlift, hit 362.5. If you're looking at Mike T's historical all-time biggest total, he hasn't been hitting around that, but he looks capable of possibly making a run here. And Regan also is another threat. What are we looking at here, do you think, Big Body?
I'm very excited about this matchup. One of the guys I've been really keeping my eye on, I want to start off with him, is Jaden Edwards, Juice. I've been able to have the fortune of working with him at Junior Worlds, and I'll go over a quick story. So, pretty much with Jaden, at Junior Worlds in Malta last year, I was asked last minute to take care of him in his session where he was going against Nonso, and there were high aspirations. So within a series of an hour, I took a look at his plan, got as much context as possible, spoke with him, and he was able to get second on that day. The context to that day was he was pretty much fueling up on sodiums, electrolytes, potassiums. The thing is that he didn't cut. So severe cramping was had on that day. But I learned a lot, and I remember working with him. He was cramping a little bit for squats, a little bit for bench. We took some clean calls to kind of give him the best chance to see if we could get close to Nonso. We also had a Ukrainian that was right behind us. And when it came to pools, I was telling him, you're dealing with some really bad cramps. When we were going through warm-ups, he took 270. And I kid you not, his hands, after he took it, it flew. It would look like empty bar. And his hands were still latched on the bar. And I'm like, are you going to take your hands off the bar? He's like, I can't. And when I tell you that I went and took my hands and I tried to pry his thumbs out of his hook, I mean, his hands were like, it was a fist around that bar. So I had to pry both hands. And from that moment, I worked to pace him with potassium and water. And I told him, we're going to be able to deadlift. You just need to stabilize the amount of sodium you have in your body. So we worked on that. And I'm telling you, every attempt, I mean, it's excruciating pain for him. He hits his first, he walks to the back and he screams. And he's just like, like his thumbs, his arms, his legs, his quads. So every area we're massaging and just trying to work on him and constantly get the potassium in the water in to balance out. We were able to load up 352.5 to lock in the second. But I bring up this story because I was telling him, I was like, you can lock in with everything that's gone on today. You can lock in the second best 120 junior in the world today. And you're here now. And I told him, if you really want this, you'll get this right now. And I felt bad because he's pushing mentally and physically through pain. But I learned about just his grit. And I know a lot of lifters that just say, this is too much. I can't do it. And they would quit, or they would scratch a second or third attempt. But I learned about this kid and I saw grit in him, and I can't respect that enough. And those are the elements that in sports that you just can't teach nor overlook. And I think that he's special. And I think that, it's his first year in the 120 class. So I'm very, I've been anticipating and been excited to see him debut in the Open. I think he's someone you cannot overlook. And in my opinion, I want to make sure I get this correct. I think that I've seen Mike Teixeira, like I'll be up late at night and I see him in Belgium time, doing his lifts in his bunker. I'm not overlooking Mike Teixeira because he's a legend. A lot of respect for Mike Teixeira. Reagan Henderson, I know he's strong, but if we're talking podium, I don't know if we're going to swing around and come back, or I don't know if you want me to go over everything right
buddy.
now. Yeah,
go ahead. You're rolling.
Okay. I believe that it's going to be huge contention for podium between Juice, Jaden Edwards, Mike Teixeira, and Devin Williams. I haven't seen much of Reagan Henderson. If he's made huge improvements, he could also be in the contention. But in terms of what I've seen lift-wise, I think it's going to be between Devin, Jaden, and Mike T. Mike T's savvy. He knows his body the most out of all of them, right? He's been powerlifting the longest. He's a coach himself, and he's a damn good coach. I think he's very savvy. You can't overlook veterans. Jaden Edwards just has raw ability. I will say that there are some technical fallacies. I know to our referee here and coach Rory. that I also have questions about for Jaden. And if he can clean those things up, he can definitely give himself a shot. And he will be able to push the rest of the 120s, including Devin Williams. Devin Williams, on the other hand, he's shown his 267.5 bench, and that thing is huge. When you have a weapon like that, I mean, it's like kind of like with Keiko, right? When your bench is that big, you have some wiggle room. I know that Devin Williams has recently had a child. We've actually had recently a good amount of flex athletes that have had some children and had to go through, marriage, a new house, bringing in new life, and doing this while in prep. I will say I'm very proud of him of how he's conducted himself. I know he's had some tough things that if he wants to go ahead and talk about, he can, but I'll just leave that to that. But I'm proud of him for the work that he's done, and I definitely think that we're going to have a phenomenal battle for the 120s. I'm also very excited for that. I think we have 83, 93, 105, and 120 in a row for the men's side to have some big contending battles for podium. And I'll leave it at that.
So a couple things. Juice doing 940 in the gym. Big Dev has done 960. If he's around 960, he's probably the favorite. But you do have Juice who's done 940 in the gym. And could he potentially have added on into that? I mean, depends how that goes. It could swing either which way. When you get into comp, maybe it lowers a little bit. When you get into comp, sometimes it goes up a little bit. Regan Henderson previously has done 920. And then you have Mike T, who's going to be over 9. He's gone higher than that into the 930s previously. Can he return to form into all-time historical numbers? It's possible. The guy is obviously a legend, like you had said. This thing could swing a couple different ways. If Big Dev is 100%, this is Big Dev's to lose. Is the way I think most people would say by the numbers. Again, I'm trying to. But is there anything else that I'm missing here? Nat, what do you think? Is this pretty much what you're looking at? The way I summed it up?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think like Devin Williams, great athlete. I think he's going to be around 960. I think he looks strong. His lifts look clean, the comp standard, and he just kind of comes out there and executes. So I'm really excited to see him lift in general, but I think it is kind of like his, to walk away with. If he goes and hits his numbers, I think he's going to solidify himself. I think it will be interesting to see Jaden come into the scene, though. And if he's hitting like 940 in prep and did, let's say, what was it, 910 when he was like cramping and having those issues? Yeah, what was that in Malta? So if he's better, recomping better, and feeling better, and can replicate what we kind of want to see from him on the platform, then I could definitely see him sneaking his way up into maybe second. Not to overlook like Reagan, because he has, I think, what totaled looks like around like 920. So they're all kind of like in that mix there in second place. So I could see Devin kind of just executing and walking away and doing what he needs to do on the day, whether it be a massive PR or just really the bare minimum. And then kind of Jaden and maybe Reagan kind of going head to head for second, and then Mike T second and third, give or take.
Corey, let me throw this in this position here. Let me throw this to you. Because Mike T is probably a lifter that doesn't peak in the gym. He's going to hit it on the platform. Some people, their better lifts are in the gym and you expect it to go down. I think Mike T might be the opposite. Now, Mike T previously has done 932.5. And we think that's near the top end amongst these gentlemen, excluding Big Dev, obviously, who's done 960. Mike T has squatted 347.5 in comp. In this prep, I've seen him do 322.5. Mike T has pulled 377.5 in comp. In this prep, I've seen him pull 362.5. Is Mike T trending towards all-time numbers? Or are you expecting it to be a little lower than that? Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think that Mike is trending towards his all-time numbers. I think we'll see him hit more than he has hit in the gym. And I think he'll be close on a few of these, like in particular, the bench. I think he'll be really close to his all-time bench. But I do think he's just down a little bit on his best ever numbers. I do still expect probably something around in the 920s would probably be my pick for Mike. Really hard to overlook him though, right? Like he's in the Hall of Fame for a reason, and I think to Big Body's earlier point, some people have not super long memories in the sport. But I don't think he's trending towards a PR total here.
Fair enough. Well, there it is. Let's move on then into the 120 pluses. Look, we're focusing on battles, and I think we're all on the same page here. There isn't going to be a battle in the 120 pluses. This is going to be the Ray Williams show as far as I could see. Am I wrong here?
No, it's going to be fun to watch Ray go, though.
I will say that last Nationals, one of my bucket lists in powerlifting has always been to see Ray squat 1,000. And I was in the back finishing up with some warm-ups on some athletes we just had completed. And I look up on the big screen and I see him walking up. And when I tell you, I put it into hyperdrive and I ran right behind in the holding area, and I got to look, and I have it with my phone. I recorded too, right between one of the pillars of these like light poles. And I got to watch him. And I always was curious too. Like sometimes, like, he's squatting a lot. Sometimes squats a little higher in training. Sometimes they're not. But his lifts get white lighted for a reason on meet day. And I got a clear look from a diagonal back view directly at that hip crease. And I got to see the immense power. And I was like, I got to watch Ray Williams squat 1,000 pounds at least once in my life. So that was awesome. And I'll be excited to have a second opportunity if that's the case coming up next week. So
Ray squatted 1,000 pounds, posted and said, on this day, my legs are heavy and I was tired. I'm scared now. If I could be this strong while I'm tired, just wait till I'm rested. So he's already squatting 1,000 pounds while dealing with heavy fatigue. I'd be shocked if he doesn't do 1,000 pounds again. So we're gonna see 1,000 pounds loaded at PA Nats, which is always exciting. All right, so there is the battles for U.S. Nationals on the men's side. We'll do the women's episode as well. But so for everybody listening, as per usual, please do subscribe, give us high ratings, and until next time, Six Pack Lapidat, 6 up, and we are out.